This is gonna be my court designated spot for every react video. I love Warhammer so much. I'm addicted to it. It's, well, I mean Total War 3. I love Total War 3. And I'm a massive freaking weeb, so this video seems tailor-made for me. Perfect. I've never seen a Reggie video before, so this is a first experience for me. I'm very excited. This is so adorable. I like his little guy.
Fellas, when you think of feudal Japan,
fellas,
you're probably imagining its
I am a fella.
warrior culture and military dictatorship.
The samurai. I don't think it was like this, but maybe.
What you really need to consider is, could it survive the zombie apocalypse? Well, that's what we're going to figure out in today's video. Because
I don't know,
we'll be playing Warhammer
but I'm
Total
curious.
War 3 post-zombie outbreak. In this,
I don't remember there being feudal Japanese soldiers in Total Warhammer 3, but I only have like 100 hours in the game. I could be mistaken.
World, 90% of the map is controlled by the undead, and each
That's
vampire
true.
lord starts the game.
I'm so excited. Apparently, allegedly, next summer, they're going to be buffing the undead in Total War 3.
With dozens of armies full
Undead
of zombies.
best.
By this point, most factions have become extinct, and there's only a handful of resistance groups
No.
fighting to survive. We will be playing as the noble Japanese, isolated in
This has to be a mod. I didn't know that you could mod in entire factions into Total War. Maybe I should get on this. Thank you, Reggie.
the Far East. Our goal is to unify Japan, create a formidable army.
I wonder if they take this from the show. I think, are they the Shogun games?
Four main
Never played
undead
it.
factions responsible for the
Who do we got? Who do we got? Who is it? Is that Vampire Abraham Lincoln? Who is that? I guess I haven't played enough vampires to know who this is.
apocalypse.
I know the
Can
other
we
three.
utilize the might of the samurai to restore order
Oh
to
my
this
God.
world, or will we become just another body in the army of the dead? There's only one way to find out.
I hope that you become a body in the army of the undead.
But before we go any further,
But
I
I'm
have to
also a weeb though, so honestly, either way that this video goes, I'm gonna be a happy girl.
tell you something. 7 months ago, I
I'm
began a
rooting for you.
revolutionary
Either way.
initiative to save the homeless population by getting them horny. It's a long story, and you'll be surprised,
I am the target
fellow
audience.
man, because I left them in the unsavory hands of anime women.
Who likes anime women?
Plop, 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 plop. Get pregnant, get pregnant!
I mean, who's really behind that camera, Alana? For all we know, it's 3 Discord mods in a trench coat. Point
Yup.
is, if you want to
Every VTuber ever is secretly just a bunch of... It's either Discord mods or it's a bunch of kittens in a trench coat.
do
Either
something
one.
right, do it yourself. Which is why I partnered with Gamer Subs to take
Yakuza.
matters into my own hands. Ladies and gentlemen,
Please let it be a sexy anime girl. Please let it be a sexy
they
anime
made
girl.
me hot.
Oh
You may
my
look upon
God!
supple body and think, dear God,
Slime girls? What?
gone too far. But that's just
Holy.
how committed I am to the cause. And my only other
That
option
animation
was
is
to pay
so
an
cute.
animator to turn me into a gay rat. So count yourself
Well, hey, gay rat might have been a better option than slime girl,
lucky.
but...
Long story short, for a limited time, we're selling a Reggie shaker cup for all
Oh
of your
my
drinking
God.
needs. I love mine so much, I physically consumed it. Now it'll be
Wow,
with me
how's that going for you? You see a doctor about that yet? You know, I bet that's not the weirdest thing that they've seen inserted into a human before.
forever in the form of millions
Definitely not speaking from
of
experience.
microplastics coursing through my veins. But if that's not your
I read a statistics once that said that the average American has about a credit card worth of microplastics inside of them at all times.
style, we also have a branded hat. This thing is saving me a
That's
ton
so
of money on
cute!
psychiatrists, because instead of spending thousands of dollars to receive a diagnosis, I just wear this hat in public, and everyone
Yeah, who needs a
implicitly
diagnosis?
understands.
It's all about self-medicating nowadays. You gotta get on that level. You have symptoms of a mental disorder, you just go on Google it. WebMD says that you have psychopathy. Easy.
That I am mentally ill. I don't want to brag,
Aren't we
but
all?
This is an excellent value proposition, so I recommend pre-ordering your merch.
Sounds
or
like a
else
great
I
deal
might
to
just get
me.
desperate. All right, now back to the
Not
video.
the gay
Here
rat.
we are in the beautiful
Skaven.
fantasy world of pre-anime Japan. My name is Shingen Takeda of the Takeda clan, and I'm a provincial
God, he's got
daimyo,
onis
which
in the
means I
back.
spend most of my time exploiting local farmers and beating the
You love to
ever-living
see
shit
it.
out of my
The JoJo's.
neighbors.
Love to
Some
see
might
it.
say it's the perfect life.
Hey, where'd they get that picture of me? That's not very cool of them.
But there's one problem. We've got way too many Chinese guys. In fact, there's also some Egyptians and even a few furs. Point is, if we
Oh, Oh
To
my god, this
survive
is
the zombie
terrible.
apocalypse, we're going to need to unify Japan under a singular identity. There are a few options for achieving this.
Okay.
But above all else, I believe in historic.
Before you throw anything out here for a second, I think we release plagued rats onto Japan in order to unify them, and we keep the cure under lock and key until they decide that they want to conform. Bad idea? Probably.
Accuracy, which is why I'm going to kill everyone, starting with this guy. I'm not necessarily doing
Take him
this
out.
because he's Chinese, though that would be
Definitely
historically
not.
accurate. I'm doing it because his goddamn
No,
name is
no.
30 pages long, and whenever I select him in the diplomacy screen, it stretches
Oh
out
my god, why is his name so long? Every time you address this guy, do you think that you have
somewhere into
to
the Atlantic Ocean.
say his full name? Or do you think you could just summarize it?
You see, when you have a name this long, it dehumanizes you, because people don't even try to remember it. Instead, they just give you terrible nicknames like
Yeah.
Dick Stroker and Ass Master. Every Thanksgiving, your
Those are my nicknames back in high school.
grandmother says
Sorry, my nicknames back in college.
to you, "Hey, come goblin,
Is that a bunch of weed? What is this? I can't tell. I can't tell if it's weed or if it's mold.
pass the gravy," and then she spits in your eye because she doesn't
Not the
respect you.
dancers,
Gradually,
too.
Your sense of identity is
Poor
eroded,
guy.
and you sink
You know, and I kind of... Reggie, you're making me feel bad for this guy. I don't want you to defeat him anymore.
into a deep
Can't you
depression
team up with
before
him?
lying down on the highway. I think in light of that nightmarish
Aw.
reality, killing this guy is honestly the nicest thing we could do for him. So we
Yeah,
start by
you know, sometimes you just gotta put them out of their misery. That's true. Thank you for reminding me
taking
that.
2 of his settlements and then setting up an ambush outside his capital. Luckily, he's too busy alphabetizing his names to notice, so he walks right into it. At face value, our army is composed primarily of
What kind of... Oh, filthy Frankie! Welcome to the rice fields, motherfricker. What kind of evil parent do you have to be to name your child something that's a paragraph long? You must really hate that baby.
impoverished rice farmers. However, the enemy army is mostly crows, so I
Bats,
think we've got a chance.
crows,
Setting
same
up
thing.
the ambush, I attack the left side with a few units of samurai, and turn
Of
the
course.
right side into
What
a
else did
peasant
you do?
gangbang. After a few minutes,
best
thousands
kind?
are dead, and Japan is victorious. I can already
Obviously.
feel my ultra-nationalism rising.
Whoa.
After that, I spent a few turns culturally assimilating the Tomb Kings by stabbing them repeatedly with a wakizashi. Meanwhile, in Southeast Asia,
I mean, what is a skeleton gonna do against a wakizashi? Let's be honest here. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just gonna go right their rib cage, and they can't do anything. They're gonna be skewered like
the
kebabs.
first undead overlord, Helman Gorst, is quickly expanding his empire through the destruction of resistance factions. Once he gets past these French
Not
armies, he'll
anymore.
share a maritime border with us, which is really bad. But we don't have time to worry about that, because I just declared war on Sinch, and I'm taking all of his territory. Also, I've unlocked a new mount, which I definitely know how to ride. The Sinchian
Oh my
conflict
God.
culminated in one final
He was surfing on a crow.
battle at his northernmost province. Siege armies are usually threatening because of how many ranged units they can field. So
They look like just little babies,
counter this,
little
I've
guys.
researched and developed matchlock
Recruiting
rifles.
peasants.
You might not think this is a big deal, but let me give you a choice. You can either get attacked with funny bisexual magic, or if you prefer,
Ugh.
I can blow your face off with a black powder musket. I know which one I'd pick. Anyway, the battle got
bisexual
underway,
magic.
with trebuchets
Thank you.
bombarding the enemies and our muskets controlling the skies. Following this up with a full charge, things quickly devolved into a large-scale woodland melee, where I attempt to
Good
utilize
lord. It is quite the jarring visual to see magic-based fantasy creatures fighting with feudal Japanese soldiers. Never did I think that I would witness this
my
before, but I'm
complete
honestly
disregard
happy
for
to be here.
casualties to slowly beat our enemies into submission. And just as things were getting
Hey, I
interesting,
like doing that
the game
too.
crashed.
No.
Which
Alright,
leads us
what
to my
next?
next point. If you're watching this video and thinking, wow, Japan is very cool, I want to be Japanese. No, you don't.
No.
This mod is a direct
No.
pipeline to Neo-Luddite terrorism, because it has the approximate
How?
stability of a landmine in a blender. It's not a matter of if it'll blow up, it's a matter of how many innocent lives will be caught in the blast. Every time my game crashes, I add 500 words to my manifesto, and whenever it
not the manifesto. His Warhammer mod crashing his game is the 13th
It
reason.
isn't crashing, it's
No.
T-posing my commanders, changing
What
the
the? You know, honestly, I feel like the T-posing commanders is kind of a plus rather than a minus, but you know, you do you go up.
aspect ratio on their portraits and making them ride their mounts underground.
These all seems like pluses to me. I don't know what we're complaining
I can use
about.
my general for that entire last battle because he spawned in on a
Ooh.
horse 70 feet in the sky.
He was practicing flying for fighting the undead bats. You just don't want to see him succeed.
Couldn't move at all. Point is, I'm willing to be radicalized into bombing
Ah.
a data center just
Oh.
so I can roleplay as the Shogun of Japan.
Aren't we all?
But I don't recommend it. Anyway, after reloading the save, I did the honorable thing and auto-resolved Siege into oblivion.
Auto-resolve in my... I auto-resolve everything. There's no shame in it.
People left to resist
Doesn't
us
make you
now
lesser.
are Skaven. And now that my commander
The
isn't doing the
rats.
Skyblock challenge, I'm headed straight for them. I was lucky enough to attack their capital while most of their armies rode at sea, so I only had to kill millions of rats instead of billions. But any battle against the
Well, you know, those breeding pits are pretty active. Makes sense why there's so many of them.
Skaven is and always will be a monumental pain in the ass.
They
Also,
are, listen, the Skaven are super duper cute. I'm not taking criticism on that fact, but they are a pain in the ass to fight against. Every time that I try to start as the Vampire Coast, Anissa Saltspit, or whatever her name is, she starts right next to Ikit Claw, and Ikit Claw wrecks my day every day.
It crashed. After exterminating the rats, we controlled most of the country, and I established a defensive alliance with the only other Japanese
Beautiful.
faction. Now, after hundreds of years of
Wow, we
bloodshed,
love to see it.
Japan is finally unified under a singular vision, which means we can devote all of our
Gorgeous.
resources to creating the most vile pornography imaginable.
Honestly, I think that's a step in the right direction.
Is the samurai way. Also, I guess we should do something about the millions of zombies. In fact, by this
Yeah, they
point,
can
the
just chill
undead
there.
hordes have completely obliterated
Oh
French
my
Vietnam,
God.
and Hellman is now actively
How are they so
extorting us for money.
strong?
Money which I gladly pay him, because he's the strongest faction in the game, and the endgame crisis hasn't even triggered yet. Up to this point,
Meanwhile, while I try to play the vampires, I always end up losing in like 5
we've
turns.
been practicing the isolationist
Okay.
policy of Sakoku. In case you're not familiar with this principle, allow me to put it into a hypothetical situation. Your name is John Fortnite. You live in Section 8 housing with your
Actually, it's John Sills.
father, who forces
Continue.
you to refer to him as the Shogun, your mother, the Emperor, and approximately
Uh-huh.
12 to 18 million siblings. One day, an African dandy knocks on your door and asks you for directions to the gas station. You slice him in half with a katana for violating
No.
your national sovereignty, and then your father exiles you to live the
Honestly, that's also though how I react to strangers coming up to my door in modern era, so
rest of your life in the backyard for the crime of interacting with a foreigner. This is Sakoku.
But they
and
knocked
it
on
has
my
kept us
door.
safe up to this point. But once the endgame crisis hits, we won't be able to hide any longer, because all zombie factions will declare war on us and will probably die. So
All
to
of
improve
them?
our odds of survival, we need to continue expanding
Allies.
and developing our empire. Which
Or
leads me
that.
to my next point. Taiwan.
I like you, and I want you.
Right now, it's under the control of the
It's so
Taiwanese
beautiful.
Dark Elves, but I'd like to turn it into a military base to train samurai. So let's get to work. I send
Smart.
my navy to Taiwan on a diplomatic mission. I kill the Taiwanese and rename all of their settlements. This is the
Tokyo or
equivalent
something?
of stealing
Okay, really random, but I had no idea you could rename settlements in Warhammer. I have like 100 hours in that game.
someone's barbecue before scratching off the serial number and repainting it. Basically, foolproof. I also forged alliances with the Filipino High Elves, because with 90% of the world
The Filipino High Elves. Wow, I've never seen those
taken
before.
over by zombies, it's probably bad policy.
Do they have the banana ketchup? Is that from Philippines? Banana ketchup? I keep hearing about banana ketchup and I want to try it, but they don't sell it anywhere near me.
Keep killing the only survivors. Now that we've got land, military infrastructure, and unmitigated ultra-nationalism, one of the strongest remaining human factions. So, what's our next move? I ask myself this
Honestly, the invention of anime made Japan the most powerful nation in the world. Again, not taking criticism on
question,
that.
and my inner Japanese daimyo screams the answer.
The Korean
Right now,
War.
it's controlled by the undead, with a small South Korean resistance led by Lokir
My
Felhar.
grandpa
I
fought
sail
in the
my navy
Korean
in that
War.
direction to help out. However, before I can get there, I receive terrible news. The endgame crisis just popped, and Helman Gorst is looking at me the same way Jeffrey Dahmer looks at gay black men in the suburbs.
No
so
thought.
That changed my
Head
priorities
empty.
just a bit.
Oh,
Good luck,
no.
South Korea. I'm sure you'll be fine. Our win conditions for this campaign are simple. Destroy the 4 dominant undead factions. And since Helman is
Easy
right
enough.
next to us, we may as well start there. At the moment,
His
our main
forest
army,
is quite vast, though. How are you gonna do this? Please enlighten
led
me.
by Shingen, is composed of highly trained samurai and a few riflemen, while our other 2 armies are primarily
Not looking
peasants
too
and a
hot.
couple of long-range cannons.
I was concerned when you said peasants, but then I heard the point where you said you had 2 other armies, and I'm no longer concerned for you.
It's not much, but hopefully it's enough. Landing at Saigon,
That's a
we
lot.
quickly
That's 3
captured the
armies.
settlement. But it turns out we are the wrong type of Asian, because the magical forests of
Oh.
Vietnam are completely uninhabitable to us. So I decided
Oh.
to donate the land to the French resistance in exchange
Oh.
for them joining the war.
Allies.
Our blitzkrieg against the undead was going quite well. We
Smart.
managed to liberate 3 more settlements.
What you have to do is you have to get allies, and then you have to send them in as like body blocks that are on the front lines while you sit back and you win the war from a distance.
And sell them back to the French. But our success was short-lived, because after 5 turns of casualties, vampiric attrition, and a low replenishment rate, my army of hardened
That's the
samurai
worst.
warriors may as well be an army of
This is why I always play as the undead instead of against them.
femboy twinks, because with a combined 50 health, we're looking awfully submissive and breedable. My conclusion from losing 5,000
Just how I like
men in
my
just a couple
soldiers.
turns, our artillery is trash, and we need anti-cavalry,
Hmm.
because our rifles can't do shit when an 1,100-pound horse is tap dancing on their balls. So for attempt 2, I brought in some Naginata samurai and started upgrading our units with Sakura blessings. However, our downfall, as always,
yes.
was trusting the French, because I accepted a
Not the French again. It always comes back to the French. They ruin
battle to
everything.
defend their settlement against the undead. But these chalk-eating, window-licking French bastards deployed facing the wrong direction and got
Your first mistake was employing the French.
slaughtered before I could even show up. Maybe, just maybe, we're on the wrong side of history. Anyway, everyone died, and I was back to twiddling my thumbs in the Pacific Ocean. As if that wasn't bad enough, the undead launched a surprise invasion of Taiwan, taking half of the island
I know that song anywhere. That's a layer cake from Persona 5. You can barely hear it.
before I could even react. If Taiwan falls, we lose access to all samurai units, so this is kind of a big deal. I
Not the
managed to call
samurai.
together an army of swordsmen and reinforce it with Ronin from the mainland. This culminates in one final battle for control of the island. We establish a defensive formation, and the undead armies wash upon
That is a beautiful formation that he has there. That baby is airtight. There's no way the enemies are getting through that.
us. For every zombie we kill, 2 seem to take its place. It wasn't until our archers started focus firing the enemy leadership that things started going in our favor.
Ooh.
Before long, the battle was over, resulting in a massive victory for mankind, with 6,500 undead
Nice.
casualties. With that taken care of, there's only one thing left to do. Fellas, grab your M16s and jungle heroin, because we're going back to Vietnam.
Jungle hair. Oh, I
For this
see.
second invasion, I adopted the approach of fanning out my armies and attacking Hellman
They're
on
in the
multiple
trees.
fronts. Then I realized that's stupid as hell. Hellman's weakness is that he has to defend all of his fronts, which allows us
And with so many unoccupied spaces, it'll be easy for you to swoop in and take
to
them.
instead group up 3 or 4
Probably.
stacks and overpower him at a singular point. By this point, I've successfully vassalized the French, High Elves, and the Japanese, so I coordinated their armies to distract the undead in the north
That
while I
picture.
took our navy to the deep south and established a beachhead. It doesn't take long for the locals to come greet us, and I'm sure they're
So in this scenario, what would the undead be considered? American?
expecting us to instantly capitulate and suck them from behind. But we've got a secret weapon, the Shogun's first samurai. Usually, a singular unit cannot sway the tide of a
These pictures are
10,000-man
killing me.
battle. But this regiment of renown cost 4,000 gold.
Ooh, wait, the samurai have lightning magic now too? 4,000 the recruit. That's crazy, actually. that is so much money. They
And
gotta
that's
be like the
because they're
best
absolutely
soldiers.
and completely busted. They have
Oh, that
triple the
makes
attack
sense.
of our usual samurai.
Oh my
they're
God.
unbreakable, armored, armor-piercing, and they can even deflect projectiles with their swords. Truly, this
What?
is Japanese apotheosis.
I trained every day in the blade. You merely know of the blade.
So when I tell you that we attacked 3 undead armies and absolutely crucified them in open combat, you shouldn't be surprised. You also shouldn't be surprised when I explain that it took me 9 hours to do this, because every time I loaded the fight, my game would crash.
9?
One of our units in the army is causing the
Oh.
crash, and I spent several hours finding who was responsible. Turns out it was my Wish.com Naruto, not
No, not the ninjas.
his existence in a general sense. In fact, I have a lot of retarded people in my army. They fight very well. The issue was that
They were doing jutsus in the back that were too powerful to be unleashed upon the war.
Mr. Uzumaki was trying to ride a horse, and the game didn't like that shit one bit, so it crashed 20 times in a row.
Ninja on a horse?
Yet again, our greatest struggle
That's
in
why.
the zombie apocalypse is against our own mod pack. Anyway, upon politely revoking Naruto's license, we're back on track. After breaking through Hellman's first response force, there was
There's a
nothing
big
to stop
bat.
us from carving up his southern provinces and selling them to the French. He also deployed half a dozen ninjas throughout his territory to monitor his troop movements, but eventually
I love that they're just standing there menacingly looking at the settlements.
the fun had to end after I came across what I describe as the Indigestible Wad, a collection of 8 or 9 undead armies.
Oh
traveling in
my
one giant
God.
doom stack. Earlier in the campaign, a sex criminal was covering us in his bodily fluids, and our solution was
Slanesh.
gun. And now, when a giant horde of undead creatures are barreling down on us, our solution will be bigger gun. The big cannon samurai are tier 3 ranged units with an absurd stat line. You may be wondering what's so big about these cannons, and I'll tell you. It's the projectiles. We're not shooting our enemies with
Holy.
bullets anymore. We're smoking them in the face with flaming dicks. Because each projectile is 12 inches long and
I showed you my projectile. Please respond.
hurts like hell. Bad Dragon would be proud.
Good
I tested
God,
these out
what
with
is
some battles
that?
against the undead, and it quickly became clear to me this shit is absolutely busted. Because not only does
Oh,
it
that
do
poor
massive
dragon.
and accurate damage, but it doesn't even need a line of sight. So as long as you're within 200
You
range,
don't.
you're
You don't even need to see what you're shooting
dying.
at.
Random skeletons charging across a field? Try again. Senile dickhead flying through the sky? Back to the retirement home,
But he
Grandpa.
looks cool doing
And
it.
most importantly, cavalry charges now turn into cavalry stains on the ground.
Oof.
August 6th, 1945.
Oh,
The
no.
United States of America did the Oppenheimer Shuffle on Hiroshima, and at that point, the war was over. But it took another 8 days for the Emperor to admit his defeat. With the invention of these big cannon samurai, that's exactly where we're at now. Emperor Helmo Hito has virtually no counterplay, apart from praying that we run out of ammo. So we spent the next 15 turns obliterating all of his armies and strengthening
Poor
our
guy.
allies. By
It's
the time his
over.
faction went extinct, we controlled all of Southeast
so
Asia
over.
through a series of French, Japanese, and Filipino
Well played.
puppet states. That's one zombie
Could have done without the French, but
faction down, 3 to go. So let's check on the others and see how they're doing. Manfred von Karstein once controlled the entirety of the Neo-Assyrian undead empire, but in what can only be described as a generational fumble, he somehow created 20 resistance factions, which are now taking turns beating the fuck out of
Oh
him.
my
So we should
God.
probably go put him out of his suffering.
Poor
On
thing.
the other hand, Heinrich Kemmler has control over all of Ulthuan and most of Bretonnia, while Vlad von Karstein has a good chunk of the empire, placing them at strength rank 1 and 2. So what's the plan? Well, a reasonable man
ooh, strength rank 1 and 2. You can beat
might
them.
just decide to make 10 full armies of big cannon samurai, but that's
Listen, there's nothing. An army that controls big titty anime waifus is unstoppable. Don't let those little silly numbers stop you from trying.
exorbitantly expensive, and our country hasn't yet figured out how to monetize gooning to anime women. So instead, we'll have to settle for some more affordable options. Army 1, 5,000 peasants. Army 2, 5,000 peasants. Army 3, people I actually
my
care
God.
about. Army 4, 5,000 peasants.
Oh
with
my
guns.
God.
Army 5, a collection of dangerous mythological
Holy
creatures
heck.
such as a woman. And finally, Army 6,
No. Now you're going too far. Women, everybody knows those don't exist. The only real women are the anime titty women.
the only cavalry I could recruit without crashing my game. This is our dream team. Now,
I like
let's
that
go
they're all
save the
T-posing.
world. But how are
That's
we
how you know
going
they're
to get all the way
powerful.
over here? Well, Warhammer is an excellent game, not just because it actively denies the existence of Australia, but because
Beautiful.
it believes in hybridized flat Earth theory, where the world is flat, but you can circumnavigate it only if you're in a boat.
What do you think is at the end of the Warhammer world? Do you think it just falls off into the atmosphere? Would it even be the atmosphere, just into space?
And you're teleporting. The mechanics of it aren't clear to me either, but the point is, we're using this sea lane to teleport
Fog.
from here all the way to South America. When we started this scenario, this continent was
It is kind of off topic, but it is really funny to look at the Warhammer map. It's literally just the world. It's just the world.
almost entirely controlled by a lesser zombie faction. But after 100 turns of resistance fighting, the people of South America have eliminated their
Damn,
undead
boy.
overlords and replaced them with literal demons. Very cool, South America. Goodbye.
Honestly, good step on their part.
Quickly ignoring that entire continent, we sail across the Atlantic to arrive on the shores of Manfred's territory. Just when you thought the Middle East couldn't get any more complicated, 30,000 Japanese men stage an amphibious landing in Saudi Arabia. Our first order of business
Ooh.
is to gain
Amphibious landing? Like lizards?
control of Sudenburg. The garrison of 3,000 men pissing their pants was no match. And with that, we
Hey,
have a
hey,
base
that's
of
my job.
operations. Meanwhile, somewhere in the desert, Sheikh Manfred von Karstein is
He's getting his
punching
ass
the air
beat.
at the thought of losing his capital to a bunch of impoverished rice farmers. So he issues a fatwa against our lives, and 6,000 of his most violent extremists show up to kill us. That was his biggest mistake.
Oh,
Because prior
no.
to this moment, he had plausible deniability about having a humiliation fetish. But after this fight, he's obviously getting off of
Ooh,
it. Here's
what
how
the-
it went.
what?
Our 4
What was he
armies
doing to
against
that
his
mic?
4. We can only use 2 at a time, so I choose my main samurai stack and the meme stack of big cannons. After some maneuvering, we establish a defensive shell, and anything that came near the shell got absolutely annihilated. Entire platoons of thousands of enemies gone in an instant. Food nourishes my
Holy
body,
heck.
books nourish my mind, and 19 big cannon gunners
Dude, that war setup is tight. There's no way anything could ever get
nourish
past
my
them.
soul. Occasionally, Manfred's cavalry might barely survive the gunners, at which point they charge headfirst into my spear wall. This is already
Look
a
at
bad
them, that
idea,
wall just
but after
stops
I
them in their
activate the
tracks.
Spear quilt ability, my spearmen gain
It's like me when I argue that my anime waifus are actually real. You can't get past my arguments.
600% mass, which means Manfred is basically charging headfirst into a concrete wall. So that was the battle. 20 minutes of shooting everything that moved, and then 10
That's
minutes
insane.
of stabbing it with spears after it stopped moving.
I think Reggie has perfected Total War 3, to be honest. This is crazy.
Final result, 250 friendly casualties,
Nice.
3,500 enemy casualties.
Not
Shit,
nice.
Manfred.
Wait, yes,
Manfred
nice.
participated in his next humiliation ritual at the Siege of the Great
He's got a degradation kink he must play Souls-likes.
Pyramid, where he attempted to defend a castle using 90% cavalry. In case you're not familiar, that's like attempting to perform open-heart surgery with a Ford F-150.
They make you
It's
wear
just
that?
Not applicable. So obviously, we scaled the walls with riflemen and spent 30 minutes putting football-sized holes in all of his units. Not sure what he was expecting, but
They were getting the fire-using anime boy treatment. Get a donut right through the chest
getting
cavity.
shot 1,200 times was kind of the high watermark of Manfred's career, because after that, we just casually conquered the rest of his territory. This was boring, but it gave us a chance to forge alliances with Raponce and Volkanovsky the Grim, which helped bolster
Ew.
our income to a massive 15,000 gold per turn.
Well-
And perhaps more importantly, our alliance with the Empire now allows us to recruit actually good artillery. With Manfred decomposing in the sand and several new allies to control the region, we can move on to the second last undead lord, Heinrich Kemmler.
There he is,
About 20
Wizard
turns
Abraham
ago, Heinrich
Lincoln.
was doing quite well for himself, controlling all of Ulthuan. But now we can see that not only did Marathi survive the zombie apocalypse, but she actually survived so well that she's invading Heinrich and winning.
Holy.
In fact, she did about half the work for us. So let's capitalize on this opportunity and take the other half of Ulthuan. Arriving there, we fan out and take a big bite out of that donut. Heinrich Kemmler does not respond well to this surprise rimming, and he attacks us at Cairnthel. I deploy our gun cage in the shallow water.
What the? What kind of tactical setup is this? He's got people in the back of his army too in case they get past the front lines. Oh my god. This is so big
Our
brain.
gun cage in the shallow waters. This slows the enemies down as they charge at us, which gives us more time to shoot them in the face. Additionally, Shingen unlocked the Dark Sky
I do just want to know, like, how much weed is Reggie smoking to come up with these ideas?
ability, which is a map-wide effect that causes flocks of crows to attack all enemy flying units. This regularly kills bats and even Vargeists within 30 seconds, meaning we've got permanent air superiority. The battle started off quite well, with us melting 3 of his
the bats
commanders
kinda
right off
suck
the
anyway.
bat. However, once his army caught up, things began getting complicated. Defending a 360-degree formation is pretty challenging, especially when your rocket artillery keeps friendly firing your own units. But luckily, the undead leadership has a remarkable proclivity for flying headfirst into projectile oblivion. And when the enemy generals are speed-running their own death, it's almost impossible to lose. While our 2 main armies were taking care of that, we split a second battle group to proceed along the northern shores, capturing additional territory until we ran into the Red Duke of Mousillon.
He looks pretty cool and fearsome. I hope he turns into an ally, but I somehow think that he's about to get his head shoved into the sand.
Not only is this man a vampire,
Just
but
a
I
thought.
have credible evidence linking him to a furry VTuber reaction channel, so he had to die. And
wait.
credible evidence linking him to a furry VTuber reaction channel, so he had to die. And let me tell you, when we ripped him apart using every Japanese monster on the roster, I felt emotionally enriched on multiple levels. Unfortunately, the undead are resilient, and for the next 20 turns, we had to deal with a continuous piss stream of Parisian vampires sailing across the channel to kill us.
No.
In
How
better
many
news,
armies
we
does this
liberated
guy have?
Lothern and brought Tyrion back to life. Then we started selling him 90% of our Ulthuan holdings. And for a man who was, until very recently, dead, he has a lot of money. Money which I desperately need, because Marathi is extorting us for 25,000 gold
Well, I mean, Marathi could extort me anyway.
each turn.
That's-
It's not that I'm a fan of financial domination, but the Dark Elves are so sexually deranged that even the most perverse Japanese salaryman would stand no chance against them. So it's easier to just cooperate with the sexual terrorists. By this point, we've taken all of Heinrich's settlements in Ulthuan, established the High Elves as a satellite state, and Marathi is teetering on the edge of flattening our dick with a pasta maker, which means
I'm sorry, say that again? She's doing what?
it's time for us to
And you're
leave.
paying her
Next
for that?
objective is Bretonia. Once we purge the undead from this region, then it's on to the Empire for our final target, Vlad von Karstein. Quickly working our
There
way
he
through a naval
is! Big Chad Vlad!
blockade, we stage our first invasive landing at Lyonesse. This is
Saving
a
the
massive
best for
city for
last.
the undead, so I'm expecting heavy resistance and possibly some suicide bombers. However, instead, as soon as we
Oh, no.
arrive, the enemy commander jumps in a boat and sails 500 miles away. I
Wussy.
almost feel embarrassed to be at war with these people, but I'm not too embarrassed to farm their garrisons for XP, because now I'm able to give my commanders the Death Squad perk. Call my boys Unit 731, because they really out here committing racially motivated war crimes and experimenting on the locals. Speaking of human experimentation, I
Well,
think something
who doesn't like experimenting on unsuspecting citizens? Honestly, that's a favorite hobby of
is
mine.
deeply wrong with my ninjas. Too many chromosomes or not enough.
Now, I've seen this before in ninjas. What's happening to your ninjas is they have something called the rumination, where they are vibrating at such a high frequency that their body becomes almost like Play-Doh, where it can stretch and move because they are just so powerful that their bodies don't know how to hold all the power on the inside.
I'm not sure.
They'll
but
be
every
fine.
time I load the save, it gets worse. Willfully
Wow.
ignoring the uncontrolled
some
mutation
strong
of my
guys.
soldiers, we push forward, capturing several undead cities with minimal resistance. Heinrich did attempt to stop us at one point, but he chose to attack us on a map with a massive choke point when all of our units have rifles. So you can imagine how that went. I take a moment to appreciate
Ooh, poor
Heinrich's
guy.
situation. According to lore, this man spent 6 years living in the forest, eating tree bark, and going insane before selling his
Okay, you know what? I feel like if Taking him over and introducing him to anime would be the kindest thing to do to him.
soul to the devil to obtain necromantic powers. All of that just for some goofy Asians to show up T-posing on horses and dismantle
man.
his entire empire. Sorry, Heinrich, but I've
for the
already
best.
depicted you as the Virgin and me as the Chad, so you never stood a chance. The only real casualty of this war was my big cannon meme stack. I got a little too cocky in this battle and they all died. One of the saddest days in my life
No.
was when my child
Rare
asked me
L?
to buy them a skibbity toilet mystery surprise toilet, at which point I had no choice but to abandon them outside a Walmart. But losing
Rational thinking, to be
this
honest.
army was
Sometimes you
even
gotta cut them
worse.
loose.
Fortunately, fresh reinforcements just arrived from Japan. 14 Tier 5 samurai at a cost
Ayo,
of 8,000 gold per
watashi
turn.
wa.
If Heinrich wasn't doomed before, he definitely is now. So we spread out and violently expunge his presence from Bretonia. Also, the dwarves seem to have performed an ethnic cleansing against the Wood Elves. Truly, the world is healing. In similarly
Wow.
pleasant news, Marathi appears to have extracted some sexual gratification from watching us repeatedly batter the elderly. And now, she kind of likes us. Fellas, I think we've got a chance. All that's left is to seal the deal.
That's
am a
all it took,
romantic
huh?
soul. So to impress Marathi, I strike deep into the Empire, capturing Heinrich's final settlement, leaving him with only one army, at which point I joined forces with her to spit roast Heinrich into oblivion. Used to be
Wow.
that buying a girl flowers was enough to impress her, but now apparently even fucking an old man to death in front of her isn't good enough. Because not only did we not
Hey, ladies gotta have high standards,
get her
alright?
number, but she declared war on us immediately after. The dating
No.
economy may never recover. Now look,
She wasn't impressed by destroying the old man.
we're already saving the world from zombies. We don't have the resources to also save it from perverts. So it's time for some market manipulation. You see, my Bretonian settlements are like a collection of investments, carefully managed and neatly arranged in a dossier. And in 2 or 3 turns, Marathi is going to take a big fat shit in that dossier, which means we have
Ooh.
2 or 3 turns to become financially
Insider trading?
liquid. So I start selling off all of our Bretonian holdings to anyone with the money.
Ooh.
Aquitaine, Karl Franz, even bearded
He's crashing the market on
children.
him.
Don't care? Here's your settlement. Good luck defending it. Some people might consider this a form of insider trading, but I prefer to think of it as a timely exercise in geographical minimalism. That was a bit
Yeah.
of a disaster, but we handled
Yeah,
it well.
legally they
Meanwhile,
cannot
on the other
prosecute
side of
you
the
for that.
world, trouble is brewing. South Korea just declared war on us and staged an invasion of northern
Oh
Japan.
no,
With
I
all
thought
of our
I thought he took that guy out like 20 minutes
in the
ago.
Empire, this is pretty bad. As the Koreans captured more of our territory, I rushed to assemble an army, but all I could come up with was this: 7 Tier 5 samurai against an entire army.
Only 7 Tier 5 samurai. What is this? A Toys R Us? This is a adult battle. Get those out of here. Come on, come up with something better.
Army of dark elf degenerates. Truly, we are doomed. Or at least, that's what I thought, before I realized our samurai can run faster than a goddamn horse. Not only that,
Oh my
but they are
God.
completely
It's the power of Naruto. They're just channeling their inner Naruto fan.
psychologically unbreakable. So our fight against the Koreans was just a bunch of sociopathic Japanese guys going on an unprecedented killing spree and then chasing down the survivors like wild animals. This is a proud day for
No
all of
survivors
Japan.
left.
Shortly after that, we executed the South Korean president and their territory was colonized by Mongolian lizards. I'm starting to understand why every
Interesting.
Asian hates other Asians. In fact, at this point, our greatest threat is no longer the undead. It's the dozens of warmongering
Yeah.
factions that have rushed into the power vacuum left by the undead. But we've got a goal to complete, and Vlad is still alive. Kind of. So let's get back to work. We begin pouring our armies into the Empire, splitting one group to the south and one to the north to capture as much as we can. We run into our first resistance at Averheim, when 4 undead armies attack us.
That is a sick dragon, sorry.
However, they're attacking our stack of Tier 5 samurai, so it turned into an absolute
You know, I guess the Tier 5 samurai are better than I originally expected them to be. Tier 5.
bloodbath. By the end, there was 5,000 corpses in this ditch alone. The good news is only 500
Looks
of
like
those
jam.
were ours, but the undead seem to have a
Only 500 losses? That's
near
insane.
limitless supply of soldiers, and they're trying to
Good
wear us
God.
down. We can only win this if we fight them smarter, in advantageous maps such as this one. An open field bisected by a river, leaving 2 bottlenecks for us to utilize. We rush to
Was that a map added by the mod? I don't remember
Gain
seeing that.
control of them with our samurai,
base
as
game.
6,000 zombies descend upon us like the plague. I'd like to tell you we fought bravely and had some kind of Japanese Thermopylae, but all I can actually tell you is my game crashed 3 times. You see, our is like a Russian egg homunculus.
Ew.
It's a
Ew! Oh my god, what is that? What kind of alien egg is that? And where did they even find that?
bastardization of genetic code that is born into this world, writhes around in agony for a few moments, and then dies painfully.
Is that the egg that Alien from Alien inserts into the people?
Currently, we're getting close to the dying part, because with each passing turn, the game becomes massively less functional. So we need to finish this challenge before the mod deletes my operating system and hires a Bitcoin assassin to kill me. The issue we're facing right now is that Vlad seems to be turtling all of his armies in a doom stack at Averheim, and we're definitely not ready
That's where the goth kids hang out.
to kill that.
Don't judge them.
Hypothetically, it is difficult to defeat Prime Ronnie Coleman in martial combat, but if we were to economically cripple him
That is a
until he could no
huge
longer
man.
afford to feed himself, then it would become a lot easier, and we're going to adopt that same approach against Vlad. Instead of confronting him at Averheim, we're going to split
Siege
up
them.
and capture the rest of his territory.
Okay,
This
that
should
works
drain
too.
his economy and force him to sell off some of his armies. Then, when he's weak and vulnerable, we strike. It took about 15 turns
These memes are killing
to
me.
take all of Vlad's territory and fully encircle him at Averheim. Every so often, he would lash out and send a few armies to fight us, but the samurai body is a well-oiled machine that
Since when do samurais have Glocks?
turns dead people into chopped up dead people. Also, we've just sold his capital city to the dwarves for 200,000 gold, and we're closing in on 1 million. So we
Damn.
can do this all day. At this point, the Japanese noose is tightening around Vlad's neck, and just as I'm getting ready to pull, tragedy strikes. I try to end my turn on turn 206, and then the game clenches its fist.
Can I just take a moment? This is only turn 206. My longest campaign ever was 100 turns, and I probably only captured like a 10 square mile radius around me. What the heck?
Grabs at its chest and collapses dead. Huh, that's a bit weird. Let's reload and try again. End turn 206 and crash. This shit ain't
Ooh.
good. Every
Time to
time we
restart.
end turn 206, the game crashes without fail. But we're far too
Ooh.
close to our goal to give up now. After a brief investigation, I realized every crash takes place when the game is processing the actions of the 7th faction, which happens to be our old friends, the Chinese. Which of course raises the question, what if China didn't exist? Maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't crash. So I downloaded a console command mod and got to work wiping 1.4
You're
billion
deleting
people
the
off face of the earth
Chinese?
on a hunch. I'm not proud to
What
admit
about
that mass
the
genocide
Kung Pao
was
chicken?
the first solution I went to, but it fucking worked. After making the Chinese extinct, I gave their territory to Balthazar Gelt, and we passed on to turn
looks
207
friendly.
without a problem.
Ish.
Thank Christ. With the fabric of
Kinda looks like a
reality now
gimp suit.
patched up using the bodies of 1 billion Chinese, we can finally finish Vlad and end the apocalypse. I linked our
Finally.
southern and northern army groups and drunk drive them straight into Vlad's doom stack. We get a massive 4-on-4 clash, which I could just auto-resolve. But where's the spectacle in that? We're fighting this one manually.
Yeah, you
Loading
have
in
to.
with a pretty strong army, I get a bit cocky and charge straight across the field at our enemies. Predictably, this was a bad idea, and things get pretty
Ooh.
messy pretty fast. Our flanks aren't
Rookie
secure,
mistake.
and the undead are starting to overwhelm
Not
us.
the flanks,
but at
dude.
the last moment, we
You
receive
always gotta protect your flank.
a massive influx of reinforcements,
lesson
which
1.
blitz across the field and begin massacring the undead. This is a highly contested battle, and then we
It
just
looks like
won.
it's off to a good
Don't worry
start.
about how, just know that we definitely didn't crash for the 500th time. With
No.
that battle over, Vlad's armies scatter, and we take our time grouping up and beating the shit out of each of them individually. In fact, I have so many commanders in this province with the purification trait that we've completely removed
Anime has finally taken over.
all of the vampiric corruption in like 2 turns. So Vlad's remaining armies are now suffering attrition from being undead, being homeless, and some of them also have the plague. Now, as much as I'd love to sit here and watch his final army decompose, I can't risk our mod breaking and
like the
forcing
medieval
another
peasants.
genocide. So I attacked Vlad's last army, kill it, and achieve absolution. After 200 turns
Wow.
and countless human sacrifices, the zombie apocalypse has been stopped, and Shingen Takeda is a hero. So what happens to all of our favorite
Beautiful.
characters now that the world has been saved?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Takeda
Where are our side characters now? That's what really matters.
retired back to Japan to continue his career
Aw.
in real estate, eventually causing the 2008 financial crisis and inventing
God damn it. I knew it was him all along.
the George Foreman grill to become a multi-millionaire. Marathi can
You know what? I think inventing the George Foreman grill absolves him of all sins of the 2008 housing market crash. I mean, the George Foreman is a pretty good grill.
continued her world domination before eventually
Domination? You mean me domination? Sorry.
overdosing on Percocet in a Burger
Yeah, it
King
sounds about right.
washroom. The continent of
Yep.
South America continues its descent into chaos, with its average
Mm-hmm.
inhabitant being considered too dangerous for human contact. Tyrion and the High Elves renounced
the
their
feral
titles
people.
and opened the world's first gay auto body shop.
Lubed up buttholes. That's what my garage is all
Holy.
about.
The French are their #1 customers. And finally, 1.4
Yeah.
billion Chinese are still missing to this day. The world isn't perfect, but thanks to us, it's got a chance.
Beautiful. You know, I think this is going to be a gorgeous world, though. With all the competition taken out, there is now room to expand the Japanese culture into the rest of the world. We can introduce them to body pillows and hentai and onigiri. Solved. This was great. I love this video. For my first time watching a Reggie video, I am obsessed. The memes that he added in to literally like every 10 seconds there was a new custom-made meme. Super freaking funny. I don't know where he gets that many pictures from. Does he just have like a repertoire of memes to pull out whenever he needs them? Also, he was using Persona music, which automatically steals my heart. He's kind of cracked at Total War 3 though. I do not know how he kept persevering that far into the game. I would have literally lost on like turn 15. I would have never been able to pull that off. I love his style of editing too. It's so snappy. And I like that he's not afraid to say anything, which is, I feel like, very rare in content nowadays. He kind of just said whatever. You know, I guess that I'm happy with the outcome. I'm happy that the feudal Japanese people took over the world as opposed to the undead. More anime bitches that way. Yeah. Good video.